But it was the first drive. There was a play. It should have been a pick six, but they called it as incomplete or something like that. And from that moment on, like the look on Sam's face, he was like, "Oh my God."
Getting closer and closer to kickoff here for the Louisville football program, and that is a wonderful bit of news. So with that in mind, we keep the content machine juiced up, man. That's what we do in the off season. Jacob Lane, Vince Lococo, producer Keith. Fellas, how we doing? It's great to see you all for a little matinee today, a little midday recording. How about that?
I love these. We need to do this more often. 3 o'clock recordings are absolutely the best. I'm not gonna lie. I have the rest of the day to go do whatever. This is awesome. This is all this right here is why I was always in the 6:30, 7 o'clock lift in football. Because I just had the rest of my day to do whatever.
There you go.
But it's awesome to see you. It's any day I get to see your beautiful face, Jacob, is just cherry on top for my week.
Oh, you're so kind.
Buttering them up.
We in Louisville?
Yeah, we're finally in Louisville. Let's go! Now we're just unpacking. So,
okay.
Like my living room's just absolutely filled to burst with boxes. And every time I pick one up, I just think to myself, man, I need to subscribe to the State of Louisville YouTube page and to the State of Louisville podcast feed.
That's right, man. That is exactly what
I thought you were going to say, oh, my back hurts. I'm getting old. My knees.
No.
Just got to work
I'm a machine. If you need a box spring, though, I got you. I got one sitting in my driveway right now.
Good to know.
Look at that. Little negotiation, little furniture pass back and forth, man. That's what friends do here. Well, hey, we are going to keep the interviews rolling right along. We've had some great guests so far join the show, and that does not change for this episode. It's former Louisville football linebacker Momo Sanogo joins us today for the first time. And fellas, I really, really, really was very fond of Momo Sanogo as a player at Louisville. I thought, coming in the year he did, what he provided, that defense in 2022 was something that, from a stat standpoint, it translates to him being the leading tackler, but also an intangible standpoint, a leadership, things that you don't see in the stat book. While that season for Louisville wasn't necessarily what we would have liked to have seen in terms of some of the ups and downs, and ultimately, Coach Satterfield leaving, which has obviously worked out for the best, it produced one of the best transfers ever that I think Louisville has landed in Momo Sanogo. And I think that, you can get these guys in 1 year for their final season and, they can have something to prove, or they can be, trying to check a box to get to the next level. And they are really thinking player first, production first. But what you are going to hear in this interview, which Vince, this has got to be so fascinating to you, hear him talk about. No, I was in the coaches' meetings. Like, I'm in there trying to absorb as much football as I can so that I can be the best player that I can be, not only for myself, but so that we can win and we can all, thrive and rise together to the next level.
He's one of those players that, like, as a ball coach, you're like, oh, man, like Stanquan Clark. Let's say Stanquan Clark's on that team when Momo's a senior and Stanquan's a freshman. You're like, man, I'm pushing Stanquan as hard as possible to be around Momo Sanogo as much as possible, because that's a dude right there that can, you hear it in the interview, he's a difference maker, not just on the football field, but like you said, Jacob, in the locker room and things like that. Other players see him going to the coaching staff and sitting up there in the room and talking to Coach Brown and D. Nick and all these guys. Other players see that, they see it translate to the field, and it's that easy. And that's how it just becomes a repetitive thing. And you're like, yep, Momo Sanogo started all that stuff.
And also, you mentioned being a powerful presence, not just on the field in the locker room, but it was really cool getting to dive into him making an impact in his community as well back in Oxford. And it's really a powerful story. If you go read some of the articles, inform yourself, and then just listening to him talk about feeling that call to action to try and make an impact to make his community a better place, like, all around, just a stand-up dude. And yeah, I'm wishing the best for him. So was excited to see him in the UFL. Hopefully we can throw an N at the start of that and get him in the big leagues this season.
Yeah, I think he proved it, man.
I agree. Like, the time, in my opinion, it's only a matter of time for him to be back on an NFL roster at some point. He's too good of a ball player not to be. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. And he played, extremely well this past season with the DC Defenders, as we kind of talk about throughout the interview. And there is, thankfully now, these mechanisms in place for, I don't want to say semi-pro, but for other professional leagues to catch the guys that aren't quite ready to make a 53-man roster, and really give the NFL that development league that they need desperately for more reps and, the ability to, with all these injuries and the seasons lengthening, like, you've got to be able to find talent and players in other places. And so that's great to see a guy like Momo get to continue that dream and continue to play football. And guys, we're getting so close to the start of the 2024 season that it is almost like depth chart time and like talking like schemes and stuff. We're not quite there, but
I thought it was Mount Rushmore season.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore season, as you love to allude to. We're going to be getting to all of that stuff over the coming weeks as we kind of inch closer to the season. I know we've been very heavy on an interview side, and we're going to continue that for a little bit here, just because it's just so fascinating to hear these stories that make Louisville football. But of course, we'll continue to get into the previews, man, because it's a big season ahead for Louisville. A lot to break down over the coming weeks, and we'll do that, of course, just like we do every single season here on From the Pink Seats podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's extremely important. If you have a Gmail account right now, if you have 5 Gmail accounts, that'd be even better. Go and subscribe to the State of Lou on YouTube. Tons of videos, all the podcasts updated there, courtesy of our good friend, producer Keith, making sure that those videos are out across the entire State of Louisville network. You can see our beautiful faces there and catch the full podcast in video, as well as the audio anywhere that you get your podcast from. So without further ado, thanks to our friends who present the show, the Frankfort Avenue Liquors and Wine, as well as Kern's Korner. Let's jump into the next edition of Countdown to Kickoff with our good friend, Momo Sanogo. All right, let's get into this. I am extremely excited about this episode. We teased it in the intro, but Momo Sanogo joins us, one of my favorite players from the Scott Satterfield era, a guy who really showed what a one-year transfer can do from an impact standpoint. So, Momo, welcome into the show. How are we doing, man? It's great to have you on.
I'm doing good, trying to stay hydrated and cool in this Texas heat. It's 94 degrees right now. So.
Yeah, man. It's like 97 here, and you walk outside and you immediately got to change your shirt. Like, I think I'm on shirt 3 or 4 today. So I feel that, man. The Louisville heat, it's certainly something.
No,
not Texas
we're officially
heat.
in no gray shirt weather.
Yeah.
Can't wear gray shirts at all.
Now, is the humidity still bad down there, Momo?
You said what?
Is that humidity still bad down there, or is it?
I mean, it's bad in Dallas, but it's nothing like Houston. Houston is like, you're inside, you can still feel the humidity.
Yeah, you walk outside and it feels like you just get smacked with a wet sheet.
Yeah, with wet towels across the
Yeah.
Well, man, as I mentioned, thank you for jumping on with us. How's everything going for you? How's life?
Everything's been going good. Right now, I'm just training, trying to stay ready for the next opportunity. So that's where I'm at right now.
Fantastic, man.
All right. Well, we can dive into a little bit of the past here with this interview set up. And one of the things we like to do when we're talking with some of the guys who transfer in is get to learn a little bit about like what their experience was at past programs, what sort of made them the players they were when they came in. And playing at Ole Miss, you had the opportunity to really play under quite the character with Lane Kiffin. So without getting anyone in trouble, we're not going to do that. What are some of the better Lane Kiffin stories you got from your time in the SIP?
Yeah, so Kiffin is a character, man. He's great. He has a good time, and it's really that way, like from practice. So one of the big famous things that we did was the fire extinguisher and have a little party like in the middle of the game for no reason. Like the team go like, yo, what? That all started. It stemmed from practice. We had a super competitive practice schedule. And it really felt like a game. Like it was offense versus defense. Everything we did, you're trying to win. You're straight just trying to win all the time. It's like trying to instill that competition, the competitive nature in everybody. And it was one of like the goal line plays or something like that. And he pulled Jonathan Hess, one of the tight ends, aside, and he was like, "Hey," he gave him a fire extinguisher. He was like, "Hey, when we score, go crazy with it." And that's exactly what he did. Like they schemed up a play, they scored, and the offense just goes crazy. He's got the fire extinguisher, everybody's dancing, and it just became like an everyday at practice thing. Like Hess is waiting there with a fire extinguisher, and when coach gives him the look, he's gonna go crazy. And then they ended up getting it cleared. changing out the inside of the fire extinguisher and making it just like, regular foam smoke.
Right.
And we started doing it on game days, and he would like wait for like the commercial break to be over, and as soon as the hits 0 and it goes back live,
that's right.
that was just Kiffin. Like we were gonna do something crazy every day.
No, not knowing him, but just visualizing him, I'm sure all those practices were offensive scripted and offensive minded and all designed to make the offense go fast and look good, right?
Yeah. So our defensive coordinator was DJ Durkin, and he would lose his mind because he would like, those trick plays that teams practice.
Yeah,
they usually don't run them that much against their own defense. They'll just save it, and they might.
It's usually a Thursday walkthrough type thing that you might, jog through on a Friday.
On our competitive Tuesday practices, they're running like 2 fake plays, 2 trick plays. And he's like, "Okay, we're just a scout team. I appreciate you."
Can we get a look? Can we get a look? Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So take me through for you playing at, position that's so physical like linebacker. What was it like playing in the SEC? Obviously there's all these jokes about it. It just means more, and the football down there is, kind of bigger than life. But you talk about the schedule, right? And the teams you play week to week to week. It's a lot like a professional schedule. What was that like for you? Like, what were some of the highs and some of the challenges maybe of playing an SEC schedule for those years you were there?
Yeah, going to the SEC, like, you're getting thrown in the fire. You're playing against big name guys that are soon to be big name guys every single week. Doesn't matter what school they're at. Like, even like, you play a team like Vanderbilt who hasn't been doing well. You're going to win the game, but like at the same time, you're watching a film. You're like, these guys are physical, man. Like,
still shot. They're still shot.
We're going to be looking out this game, like, because they just play with everybody in SEC. It doesn't matter if you're good or you're going to play with the mindset. Like, I bet they remember me.
Yeah.
At the very least, you're going to remember me.
It's very true. Yeah.
It's just that's just what makes the competition so fierce, because everybody's kind of like on the same page about that. But it's a lot of fun. It's challenging at first, but once you get a hang of that physicality and really just buy into it, you just become a better player. It's fun.
Yeah.
What were those game day atmospheres like?
So that's one thing I will say. SEC game day atmospheres are different.
Yeah.
Are different.
There's levels to it.
Imagine it Ole Miss. Yeah.
The fans are different. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, everybody's drunker at the game.
Well, the best way to explain it is whenever the number 10 team in the country comes into your stadium, the whole place is probably going to be packed. And, Jacob and I probably shouldn't be able to yell at each other from across the stadium like what happened against Wake Forest last year. Yeah, the last year with Satterfield. That's probably the biggest difference. If the number 10 team in the country comes in, the place is going to be packed and rocking.
70,000 people.
If it's any team also in the SEC, like, it's packed.
I was going to say, for a lot of the cities that those schools are in, a lot of those places, you're the only show in town. You're not having to compete against other things either. Like, so it's eat, breathe, crap, SEC school football.
Most of the SEC teams are in college towns, so it's like the football, the sports of this college is all that matters in the surrounding area.
Where do you stand on the attire of college students in the SEC showing up in the shirts and ties and pants? Like, as a football guy, is that a little weird to you that they come like fully dressed, or did you get used to that?
I still think it's kind of crazy that they stand ready for a formal.
Right.
It is humid in Mississippi. Like, they don't talk about Mississippi as much, but just like Louisiana and Georgia, how it's humid in Mississippi. Like, I don't know how they do it, but hats off to them, because they sit there and they ride the whole game.
Yeah,
I bet you were fist bumping, seeing us in tracksuits and shorts and t-shirts and stuff. Yeah, I bet you were loving that.
It's like culture shock coming to Louisville games, and you're like, "What? They don't wear a full 3-piece suit? This is crazy."
Not a single top hat.
Not a single top hat.
Yeah, next year I'm going to show up to, whether it's in DC, wherever you're playing, in a monocle and a top hat, just to give you that little bit of that college life back when you're in the stands. But I want to switch. Yeah, exactly right. Like, I remember that guy from the Ole Miss game. I want to switch gears a little bit here and kind of touch on something a little bit more personal. I hope it's okay to kind of step away from the football field, but when you came to Louisville, one of the things that people spoke about was your leadership and the way you carried yourself as an individual. And as I prepared for the show and was doing some research, I was reminded of your efforts as a student at Ole Miss during some of the really controversial things happening around the Confederate statues in Oxford and surrounding places. You had the Confederate flag and some of the things that were implemented as a state, and yourself and some teammates implemented a march to stand up to some of the racial injustices that were happening within the town and some of the way that folks were just speaking in general about different cultures and races. So I want to just pick your brain a little bit on what was that experience like? How did that come together? And is that something from an activism standpoint that like kind of defines you and things that, you kind of are really passionate about away from the game of football?
Yeah, I mean, like growing up, my dad always taught us like you're supposed to make an impact in the community wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Like try to find a way to make an impact. We would go to like food kitchens and stuff like that and donate stuff, and we're always sending stuff back to Africa. He's actually going there in a couple weeks, but it was one of those things like whenever something bad like that happens, you can kind of like you can feel a sense of like divide happening. Like it doesn't feel quite right. And so that we named that march the LO United March, right? And the LOU that's what they kind of call the area, Lafayette County, Oxford, Mississippi, and then University, Mississippi, right? Like where Ole Miss is on campus is like its own like little city. It's called University. And so that's the LOU, and I just played off that LO United. And it was just a march to really bring the people together, selling T-shirts that said LO United. And that raised money was going to the family of Dominique Clayton, who was shot and killed by an off-duty police officer, and also raised money for the Boys and Girls Club of North Mississippi. But we also were heavily involved, like got the Oxford Police Department heavily involved because like especially with that situation that had happened a year prior, not even a year, it happened in like I think September of 2019, so it hadn't even been a year yet. There was a lot of like distrust in the community with the police department, but they work closely with the football team, and we know that they're good guys. It's hard to let a couple bad apples so we got the police heavily involved. They were with us, marching with us, and the family of Dominique Clayton was there with us as well. And it was the whole community kind of rallied together. It was very preaching togetherness. That kind of came from my time serving as the chairman of the SEC Leadership Council. Just being in the SEC meetings and everything, everything was preached about togetherness. So that's what I wanted to kind of bring in this situation. Like, let's have a moment where we can all come together and acknowledge things that have happened together, right? And it was beautiful. We raised $6,000. $3,000 went to the family. $3,000 went to the Boys and Girls Club. So it was a really cool moment.
I think the cool thing with that, and whenever we did stuff too during the 2020, it's just feeling like football. People come from so many different backgrounds and stuff. And that's like the most beautiful thing about the locker room is everybody gelling on all these different levels and being able to turn and have your brother's back in a situation like that, white, black, Mexican, or whatever, it's amazing. And that was one of the cool things for us. And Jacob reminded me of that article as well prior to the show. You're such a good football player that that's all I thought about. Oh shoot, I'm up. Yeah, so. You decide to leave Ole Miss. Yeah, my bad. You can edit that out, Keith. So
Yep.
you decide to leave Ole Miss and hop in the transfer portal. What all went into the decision to come to Louisville, and just basically how did you get there?
Yeah, so when I was coming out, that was like I believe the second year of NIL, and it was big on like where can you go where the money is, like how can you get money. But like one thing I wanted to do is I was like, I want money to be absolutely 0% of my decision at all. Everything was based on a team that had pieces that could win games, right?
Yeah.
And a linebacker, specifically a linebacker coach that can help me build and grow and play the position at a very high level. So I found that here at Louisville with Coach Derek Nicholson, that amazing coach. Like Still
he's
call
wild.
him every couple of weeks to this day. Like awesome dude. But I came on the meeting. They were like, "Do you want to go to the NIL meeting?" I was like, "No, not really." And they were like, "Okay, we'll just sit in it for a little bit." So I sat in it for a little bit, and then they kind of could tell I was like pretty like, yeah. So they were like, "All right, we can go to football meetings now." And we had like a whole bunch of stuff planned. It was supposed to be a 30-minute football meeting. We were in there for 3 hours. Me, B. Brown, and D. Nick. We were just talking about football. We were watching old games. They were like, "Okay, what coverage is this right here?" I'm talking about it. I'm asking them questions about how they run this coverage, what they were looking for right here, and we were just gelling. And I was like, "Okay, I'm learning a lot right now from him. Like already, like I'm excited. Like I want to."
Oh, you were ready to go at that point, right?
Yeah. So I think I went on. No, that was my last visit, but then it was pretty easy decision. I was like, this is where I think I can find the most growth at linebacker.
And B. Brown and D. Nick and those guys, CJ Avery mentioned it, and while I was on the defensive staff, I noticed it a lot. It's guys coming up to the offices on their own accord, not being like, oh, hey, not B. Brown texting you saying, "Hey, Momo, come up here, let's meet for an hour and talk about X, Y, and Z." You were going up there and saying, "Hey, B. Brown, this is what I watched. This is what I saw. Let's watch this down, break this down and everything." And did you enjoy having that freedom? And did that help prepare you for where you're at now, at your professional level?
No, yeah, I loved it. Like he extended an invitation, like during training camp. He was like, anybody who wants to come to the staff meetings is welcome.
And he was serious. About that.
So I took it seriously and I showed up. And just being involved in in how they prepare for the game, how they prepare for each team, what goes into deciding what's going to be on the call sheet for the week, all that stuff was super fun. And I almost got in trouble one time. D-Nick had to like hit me like, "What are you doing?" But I'm sitting in the meeting and I'm like, they were trying to figure out like how they could go about this specific, like what they were going to do right here on this play against this type of offense they're scheming up for. I was like, "Why don't we do this?" And then he was like, "You're not supposed to talk," like, because he didn't know if B. Brown was going to be cool with that. Like, no one's ever spoken in the meetings before.
No.
And B. Brown was like, "Further explain that." And I was like, "Oh, I done got myself in trouble."
Yeah, you dug yourself in the hole. Yeah.
I further explained it. He's like, "You know what? I like that. Like, if you got some good input, like, because." And that just built my trust and confidence and their trust and confidence in me, because they were like, he's not just sitting here just for the brownie points. Like, he's actually paying attention, trying to learn.
Yeah, like in that situation, no dumb question. Like there's no dumb question. Truly, there's not. Yeah. There's not. You might personally think there is, but I mean, at the end of the day, any question you're asking, there's a purpose behind it, and you're just trying to make more plays on the field.
Exactly.
Yep. Collaboration is the best way to learn. So. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that experience was more not just one-sided information, but you had the opportunity to make contributions, make input, have your ideas, float them out.
Yeah, it was an amazing.
Do you have any aspirations to coach ever?
That's what I'm struggling with mentally, because like I got my MBA, I got prepared for afterwards, trying to jump into the sales force or something like that, but. The older I'm getting, the more I'm like, maybe I can't leave football alone. So we'll see what the future has in store for me. But
I was gonna say those you sitting in all those meetings is going to make whatever you do for football wise, be it high school or collegiate level, 10 times easier, because you're already prepared for it.
Yeah, I've already seen it. Yeah,
exactly.
So you mentioned when you were going through your transfer portal recruitment process, you were wanting to know, like, where can I grow? Where's the best opportunity for me to develop as a player? And you picked Louisville. So during that last year at Louisville, how would you say you grew, and where did you grow the most as a person, as a player, as a leader? Just free reign. Where did you grow in the last season?
I think my biggest growth came from freedom in coach, freedom in play coming from the coach. Like, D-Nick, assured me, like, be comfortable trying new things. You go out there, we're going to drill a couple different ways for you to do some stuff, and you try them in practice, and then we'll come back and talk about what's working, what's not, what could work if you tweak X, Y, Z, right? I hadn't had that before. That left so much room for growth. I tried things I had never done before. I was very stuck on like striking and getting off blocks.
Yeah.
He entered me into the world of like, you strike people and they fear that. Now that they fear that, you can,
Use
like
your speed, get under. Yeah.
You can have some suave in there and just try it, just see what happens. And so it was things like that opened up doors for me, like with coming up and walking up on the ball blitzing and how my technique in that to get penetration in the gaps as like I'm a D lineman without having all the weight on me, like using my body leverage and just opening up the freedom to be the linebacker I naturally am, right? And to define what works best and to make those work better rather than trying to fit in his system of how to play linebacker. And he was like that with everyone, with all the young guys, older guys, didn't matter. He was about making you the best type of your linebacker, not trying to make you fit in my box.
I loved the freedom that they would give you all when, being able to go up and mug up, on the line of scrimmage or, just to be able to line up in positions to where, if you might think you need to be an inch or two over, they're not really going to trip about that as long as you make the play and you're in the right spot. I always appreciated that about their staff. And did you enjoy, that freedom of being able to mug up on the ball and being able to move and kind of not do whatever you want, but like you said, be yourself within the defense?
Oh yeah, it was great. Like it's a fine line to walk because sometimes when you move around,
exactly.
you don't understand your assignment, you'll get yourself in trouble. But like with being in the staff meetings, completely understanding the scheme and what they were looking for out of every play, it was so fun to just kind of just move around, kind of just be free, do whatever, so long as when the ball snaps, I'm doing my job. And it really made football more fun because now, like, the coordinators are playing the game against each other, trying to lull you sleep so I can run this play, get your players thinking this. Like, I'm playing that game with
now you're in the game. Yep.
Now it's me and the quarterback having our own little game. He's trying to make a check. I'm saying the other check that he said the other play, and I'm just having fun out there. So like I was able to become that kind of player really at Louisville with the help of D. Brown and D. Nick, like guided me to say, be who you are on the field. And I just took it and ran with it.
That defense, when you look at Louisville historically in 2022, is one of the best defenses in program history. I mean, the numbers were just silly, off the charts. First in sacks, I think it was 50 total sacks. First in turnovers produced. You obviously, I do want to touch on the Wake Forest game here in a second and just get your perspective from that. But just tell me what went into, I know you kind of talked about, some of the scouting and some of the kind of film work, but what went into that defense being so special? Obviously, you had three guys in Trey and Yasir and Yaya who were, extremely talented. Then you have yourself coming in, you lead the team in tackles in your first season there, really the kind of missing piece. And you have all these other guys, young Ashton, all these other pieces out there. What was it like for you all playing within that?
It was a lot of fun, I'll tell you that much. And it all kind of started in spring ball. If you ask Monty, he'll tell you, like, I brought a different mentality to the spring ball. I was like, I'm playing a game every practice. It's no easy rep for anybody. Like, we're out here to get it. Defense is winning every game. We're partying after we make a play, everything like that. And we just found this groove and this confidence during spring that carried through summer workouts, leaning on each other through those tough days. And so by the time we hit season, we were just confident and ready to roll. And, it took a second to find our stride playing against a different team because our scheme was very different from other teams we played. Mm-hmm. But so it took a quick second to get it. But once we found our groove, there was no stopping us, man. Like everybody was playing with absolute confidence. Other teams were scared to play us because they knew we were coming after them. And it's like, what can you do about it? We got DBs that can. We're going to be a man and blitz you, and then we look like we're going to blitz you, and then we drop back and cut. We're confusing these quarterbacks. The coaches are coming up with great game plans. We just have to go out there and execute. And we kind of took it upon ourselves to, like, if we're not successful on defense, like if every week we're not a top 10 defense, there's no one to look at but each other. Like we did something wrong, and we need to figure that out. So it was very like, we're not blaming anybody. We're taking responsibility for everything, and what we expect is greatness. And
Jacob, what you'll appreciate is they had a sack board in there too.
Oh,
they take a picture of the sack, or they snapshot it from the play, and they get him to sign it, and it goes on a board. So, how big was that by the end of the year with that defense? I mean, geez.
It was full. It was crazy. It was crazy. They had to start printing off smaller pictures.
Yeah, I can imagine Grant and then being like, "This is stupid. I'm sick of this shit."
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, I mean that defense, it had everything. And you saw that in full force against Wake Forest, right? So the joke was always that Sam Hartman was never going to come back to Louisville after that. Comes back last year with Notre Dame, and like the exact same thing happens all over again. But just take me through your perspective. Like, do you see, I know that third quarter is like a historic third quarter, but is there a moment where you see this, just like that look in his eye change from like competitive, like Sam Hartman and just the team in general, competitive in the game to like, holy shit, we've got to get out of here. Like they're going to kill us.
At that point in the season, we had really hit our groove on defense, right? Everybody knows who we are now. And you know teams are coming in like a little bit worried, right? And they're riding high. They're number 10. Nobody's figured out their offense yet. That slow
slow read. It's so annoying.
It's so stupid.
And B. Brown came up with a great game plan for it. And like we had full confidence in the game plan. We were like, yeah, no, there's no way they can be successful doing that. If they do that, we're going to destroy them. And we knew that. But it was the first drive. There was a play. It should have been a pick six, but they called it as incomplete or something like that. And from that moment on, like the look on Sam's face, he was like, "Oh, we messed up. Oh, we're not." and when we saw that, and we started talking about it like right after, like he's scared already, and he's hearing us, and you can just see it in his eyes, like he had already lost the game. And
how
when
satisfying
you see that in someone's face, it's like a party now. Like now we're just having fun.
I was about to say,
once you hit that meshing point, I mean, you only have to guard the receivers for about 5 yards if you really think about it, Momo, because he's got to make a decision quickly on whether he's going to hand it off or throw it. Exactly. So if y'all are up in his shit and he's looking and Trey's got somebody locked up the first 5 yards, his first option, he doesn't have a number two.
Like think about it. They got a tight end in the game, but we're gonna have a safety over him. We've got Trey on the slot. We've got Jarvis Brownlee and Quincy Riley at the corners. Yes. 2 lockdown corners. What we said is like, okay, we've been playing cover 3 all season, not for you. You want to do the slow RPO? We're going to play cover 4, right? And if you dare act like you're going to run the ball off, everyone that is not like, so the basically the slot, the 2 corners, and the safety to the tight end side, if you mesh point, they're going to go to man. And they're going to play tight man coverage, and everybody else is blitzing.
See, Sam Hartman's not smart enough to analyze that either.
They're going to put Gauge 8 on NCAA real fast.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
He's looking at the coach like, what if I drop back during coverage? But they look the same, and then they blitz the next one. It's like, what am I supposed to do? And they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to, because no one had done that. Everybody, when they go slow, they want to also go slow.
You can't do that because that's when the O linemen start pinning you, and that's when the holes start opening. I mean, if the D line's not going to fire off the ball and they're just going to catch them right here and make it to see where the running back's going to go, they're going to pin you down and push your hip. And I mean, there's a hole. Now you're 1-on-1 with the running back in a hole, and he's got a receiver option to throw.
They had some shifty running backs that were like, once they got going, they were making somebody miss, but you can't make anybody miss. There's nowhere to go. So
you talked about seeing that sort of oh shit look in the offense's eyes after, like, in the first quarter after a few plays. How satisfying is that feeling, just knowing like, oh, we got your ass?
It's so like, that's such a good feeling, especially when it happens like right at the beginning of the game, because you're like, oh, you got 4 quarters of this, big dog. I'm not going anywhere. Like, this might be a time for you. So it's such a good feeling, and it's hard to describe.
So we get to the end of the year, man, and Sat decides to leave. How surprised were you whenever Sat decided to leave, and how difficult was it to bowl prep without head coach? A bunch of people left and everything. I mean, I know I woke up that day and I was very bitter just based off how everything went down. Happy now because Jeff Brom, love Jeff, but I mean, how were you? What kind of spirits were you all in?
Oh no, it was super surprising. We were pretty shocked, but I mean at the same time, it's one of those situations where like
It's a business.
they wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't the best decision for their family. Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to make it the career move out of spite.
Yeah.
Right? And it's definitely not out of spite of us. So it's one of those things like that's the business. That's football at this point. While I was at Ole Miss, I got there. Hugh Freeze brought me in. Within a month of being on campus, he's like, deuces, and then we get hit with your bowl band. So, like, I'm just glad when he left, we didn't get hit with a bowl band. I was like, that's why I thought,
Yeah, you thought that came hand in hand, a bowl band.
Yeah, no, like, but I mean, it just really became part of it. The difficult part was the fact that, like, we ended up with like 3 coaches on staff.
Yeah, it was like Grant Gorley was running outside linebackers. Coach G was the DC. Pete Thomas was running the offense. I mean, that was really about it. But the whole kicker with that whole thing is Sat goes to Cincinnati, and that's who we're playing in the bowl game.
Yeah.
I mean,
personally,
I'm gonna get my get backs right here real quick.
It was funny because both teams were left in the same situation.
Oh yeah,
because he's coming from our school and he's bringing a lot of coaches from our school. You're not gonna have any coaches either, and we can't hire a coach in time. You knew you weren't gonna have so we're both sitting here like, hey, we both have no coaches. What's up? Like, let's see who's better.
Call your best shit, and let's see who's better.
Yeah, draw something up I've never seen before and let it rip.
Yeah,
come on.
Exactly.
So,
that's hilarious.
I almost had to bring back Vince out of retirement, man. Made the jokes last year. When they got to the end, they were down to so few coaches. Like, there's not many people that are left in Louisville that could probably call the plays still at this point. I'm like, I got to get Vince out of retirement, man. But let's talk a little bit post Louisville and really kind of this next phase of your career as you've kind of embarked on a professional football career. Take me through your process for preparing for the NFL draft, then the process of trying to find a roster and just kind of that next phase of football life in the NFL where it's very cutthroat. And then we'll kind of after that we can get into the UFL a little bit more in depth because Keith is like, Momo, I'm not kidding you when I tell you, Keith is like as big of a UFL fan as there is. I think he might be the number one UFL fan in the United States, at least in Kentucky. I'll give him that.
Definitely in Louisville. 100%.
Yeah, definitely Louisville. Definitely Louisville. But let's talk me through the NFL draft process a little bit.
Yeah, so came back to Texas, training up in a gym called Built for It in Prosper. Great trainers, great support staff over there. I knew I was going to be taken care of, and I could focus because I was, able to stay at the house, stay with the family, and really just put my head down and go to work every day. It was a great process. I thought I had, a great senior campaign, great film in my career, but it was kind of just, like really in the air with whether or not I was going to be able to get that opportunity that I needed. They were saying big questions were like speed and things like that. Well, I was able to come to pro day, able to run a 4.68. Was moving well, moving great in the drills. Did the drills with the DBs, moving my hips well. Put up 31 on bench press. Like I had a great pro day, and then the phone just still wasn't ringing. And draft came. Day 3 comes, the next day comes. Still haven't gotten a call, and then ended up getting a call from one of the assistant GMs at the Broncos. He was like, "I'm surprised you're not picked up anywhere. Nobody signed you to BFA." And I was like, "Yeah, you guys should."
Yeah,
right. I'm kind of surprised too, Coach.
We don't have any more roster spots, but we'd like to bring you into rookie minicamp and see how you do. So I get there and I'm day 1. I'm balling. It's clear I was brought in as a camp body.
Yeah.
So I knew I wasn't going to get much opportunity, but I was going to have to make shake with what I had.
Right.
And from my first snaps in, I spent extra time studying the defense. I knew exactly what my role was in their defense pretty quickly. I credit that to going through. I had 5 different DCs in college, so I had to learn new defenses quickly. So with that, going into practice, I could just focus on the offense, and I was just making plays. It's funny, after the first day, one of the coaches came in the bathroom with me and was like, because I went to the bathroom after practice, he was like, it's great one day, but you got to do that the next day. I was like, okay. Next day, come back, I'm crashing out. I'm talking my shit. You know, I'm feeling good. He comes, same coach falls in the bathroom at the practice. He was like, "That's what I like. I love
There
it."
you go.
And so I was feeling really confident. But you know, at the end of the day, it's a business. You know, I felt like I had done what I needed to do to get the opportunity, but they just, you know, they liked who they had. They didn't want to leave anybody to get me. So they were like, you know, we'll just stay ready for an opportunity. And opportunity never came. I got drafted in the UFL. So I was like, you know what, like let's do this and keep rolling. But that gave me the confidence knowing that like I was there. You know, I had my little cup of coffee there and I know I belong. So right now it's about playing well enough to find that person that believes in you so that they can give you that they can get you that opportunity.
What was that draft process like for the UFO?
It was kind of crazy. So one of the coaches I had at Ole Miss was the head coach. T-Buck was the head coach for the.
Yeah, I know. T-Buck was one of my coaches at Louisville. Whenever he was at Louisville, so yeah, I know T-Buck.
Love T-Buck, but he called me like 3 days before the draft and was like, "You done with football? Like you're not in the team in the NFL, right?" And I was like, "No, not right now." He's like, "You don't want to play football?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "The NFL draft is in a couple days, and your name is like not entered." I was like, "Okay, can you do that for me?" And he was like, "Yeah, I got you right now." And then so I got entered in that, and I ended up getting picked up pretty early. And he called me as soon as he found out that like DC had entered the pick. He was like, "They stole you from me, brother." Like I was like, "Ah." It all worked out great, so I'm glad it happened.
So, being the UFL guy, I'm not going to bombard you too much with DC questions. So, first off, what was it like playing in a bit of a more intimate stadium than what I assume you're used to previously playing at Ole Miss and here at Louisville, but with I would say one of the better fan bases in that league. You know, you have that end zone section going crazy with the beer snake every game. So just what was it like playing in DC in front of the fan base up there?
It was really cool because with the more intimate fan base, but at the same time it was a more intimate stadium. Like we're playing in a soccer stadium, so it still feels like we're packing it out. It's getting loud, you know. So it's not like a crazy drop off or anything. Like there were some places you play, like in Memphis, for example, where you know you can talk to the other team from sideline. But like a lot of the stadiums, like you're playing indoors at San Antonio, it's loud. St. Louis is loud. They're making that little dome rock over there. But that was funny too. We went to St. Louis, and the fans are kind of funny. They were like, "I bet you've never, you know, I bet this is a lot for you right now." And around, one of them goes, "I played 5 years in the league. What do you think? You think nobody shows up in the games in the league? Like, what are we talking about?" But it's just funny because they're having fun, and we know that, so we're having fun with them. But it was, with it being such an intimate environment, it allowed the players from the other team, and really like even with fans, like other fans, you have a closer relationship with them. Like you'll high five the kids from the other fans walking by, like whatever it is. Like we're really enjoying the sport, and there was a lot of camaraderie with the players and the other teams, and it was really cool.
You're establishing a fan base now. Like the UFL is very early, you know. XFL, all that stuff is still very early, but everybody seems to be more behind it now than ever. And I mean, the fan bases are growing like hell. They're all over social media. You mentioned St. Louis. St. Louis and DC are crazy on social media with some of the stuff that they post.
I have a shirt upstairs. One of the fans, his name is Doug. He made a shirt with his face like all over. He's got this big Santa beard. He's wearing stuff, and he gave me a shirt. I was like, "Hell yeah, I'll take that."
There you go.
Little jersey swap, man. I'm here for it. Yeah, I'm here for it.
So we talked a little bit. Oh, go ahead, Vince.
I was going to ask, like, we always talk about it at the collegiate level, like treat it like it's your job now, so that whenever you get to the next level, it's easy. What is it like, you know, finally having football be your job?
It's
reaching that dream.
It's like when you're on the kiddie side of the pool and you don't know how to swim, and you're watching all them swim, and you have these floaties on. The floaties are like school. You know what I mean? and like then all of a sudden you realize like, oh, I can swim now, and you finally get to go to the deep end. That's kind of what it feels like. It's like, okay, I can just play this kids game as my career. This is great.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a great feeling. Like I love football, so like there wasn't a single day that went by where I felt like I had a job.
Exactly.
So with the UFL season wrapping up a few weeks ago, I believe it's already been like 14, 15 guys been signed to NFL rosters out of that league. Is that something that you're still working to, trying to, staying in connection with NFL GMs? I'm sure like with that intimate environment, you have guys like Wade Phillips coaching in the UFL, like getting some connections in the league to try and make that dream happen.
Yeah, that's still the goal and everything in mind. And I know like every time I step on the field, like I know I'm continuing to climb. Like it's not like I'm at a plateau. It's still building. The more experience I get, the better my play becomes, the more strategy I have when approaching specific plays. So, I'm still hopeful for an opportunity to call for a workout for this year. My agents, calling people up, calling teams up, trying to give me an opportunity. But if it doesn't come, I'm not discouraged in the slightest because I had a great year this year, had a nice showing, and I know that I can just continue to build on that next year. So.
Do you go back to DC?
Season. I think they have me on like a 2-year contract. So like if I'm in the UFL, it's got to be with DC for the first 2 seasons.
Because T-Buck's ready to just go ahead and scoop you up whenever that's he is.
That is fantastic. Well, Momo, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know, talking about football being a profession, it's not like me working virtually where I can just log onto my computer real quick and do a podcast interview and jump back into things, So I appreciate you being willing to give us your time. And I know the fan base, man, I mentioned this before, but, you get a lot of guys that transfer in here and they either, don't make a big impact or they do, and maybe they don't leave that kind of lasting, legacy. But I think for yourself, man, the way that you carried yourself as a football player, what you brought to that defense in 22, coming in and being the team's leading tackler in your season, man, I think it just speaks volumes to the kind of person you are. So it's great to be able to finally tell you that. And it's an honor to have you on the show. And our virtual doors are always open, buddy.
You definitely have more people saying, we wish we had more time with Momo. We wish we had one more year.
Yeah,
Momo.
You got a 7th year in there somewhere, man. They're just pulling you
out.
Yeah,
we're still trying to work that out with you and Ian Pfeiffer. We're trying to get you guys like extra years.
I really appreciate you guys. And I got to say, like, the year I spent at Louisville was, I made 2 lifelong, still close, still talk all the time, friendships with Yaya and Yasir, still talking to Ashton, Quincy, Jarvis, like, all those guys from that team, still in contact with them. I built lifelong relationships there. I had the most fun playing football I've ever had there. And the community, like that was all credit to the team, the coaches, the community, everybody. So like, I made the perfect decision going to Louisville.
Love to hear that, man.
Fingers crossed for you. You don't have free time this fall because you're busy getting ready for some league games. Yeah, but right, if man. You do, more than welcome to swing by the tailgate. Come to the Ville, hang out, and watch these boys because that defense is going to be nasty this year. So
yeah, that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing from the boys.
Yeah, man, can't wait. We got some NFL draft picks out there again. Gonna get maybe I don't know. Sam Hartman won't be coming back, but maybe we can turn another quarterback into getting that kind of same experience that you guys provided him.
He's not any good. Quit tying Riley Leonard up like that. I'm tired of it. Momo, Duke football isn't a real thing. So if a player transfers from Duke, he just.
Did you guys see Ashton's image in the NCAA game?
Yeah,
they did him.
They did him dirty. That looks more like me than him.
Yes, it does. It does. It really does. That's not the official rating, is it?
No way. He was like, dirty.
That's Ultimate Team. So that's the one like everyone sucks at the beginning of Ultimate Team and then pay money and they get better as the year goes on. Yeah.
Under no circumstances is Ashton Gelati an 84 overall.
Right. No, exactly.
That was like the top. Like, so
yeah,
the highest you could be at that point was that. So like, that's why he was one of the few players that was like shown on that because he's dirty. I think Ashton, been robbed too many times from awards and stuff. So this is the year that he's going to get everything he deserves.
He's got a lot of help on that line too.
As great as a player he is, he's that good of a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it's exciting times, man.
One more question,
Yeah.
Jacob. Hold on. How difficult? So we've been talking about this a lot this offseason. Is moving Ashton, like just having Ashton being such an athlete, and you at the linebacker position. How awesome would it be able to see Ashton there at a zero technique and the stuff that you all could do, and maybe like a cub or a bear or something like that, and mug the linebackers up, and have him at that zero to be able to move. I mean, he moves so well. What would that? How would that be for you?
Like that. Like I want y'all to know, like that is pretty much Aaron Donald, man. Like Ashton is not. You think he's undersized, but the strength that man carries in every fiber of muscle in his body, like every center would sweat before the game even starts. They're like, no way, I gotta block him at nose. Like, what is he doing at nose? And like
Exactly.
he would be a problem.
As a former O lineman, I tell you the first thing I do: guards, help. So guard, chip, please.
So, like you said, if you walk a bare front and then man everybody else up, Ashton on the nose, Ashton on the center, and then blitz the linebacker when the running back tries to help in protection.
Done.
That's a sack every time. You better get the ball out right now.
Yeah, done. Yeah. Yep. All right, I had to ask that one before we signed off. Jacob, go ahead.
Man. No, I'm here for it. This is like people should pay for this level of like football conversation back and forth, man. I swear. That's what I'm talking about. But Momo, your door's always open to have you back on the show, man. Come on and break down a game or whatever the case is. But thank you again, brother. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Appreciate it, Momo.